Okay, today we continue the Samyutta Nikaya. Today is the 19th of July. Come to the 6th Samyutta, Brahma Samyutta. Now we come to 6.12. That's what I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Ratagaha on Mount Vulture Peak, not long after Devadatta had left. Then when the night had advanced, Brahma Sahampati, of stunning beauty, illuminating the entire Mount Vulture Peak, approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him and stood to one side. Standing to one side, referring to Devadatta, he recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. As its own fruit brings destruction to the plantain, bamboo and reed, as its embryo destroys the mule, so do honors destroy the scoundrel. That's the end of the sutta. So, plantain plant is what we call the banana plant. So when the banana plant gives forth the fruit, people harvest it and chop down the banana tree. So the fruit destroys the banana plant. Similarly with bamboo and reed. So this is that honors destroy the scoundrel. Honors, that is fame, is for a monk is very dangerous. That is why later we'll come across one Samyutta, Labha Sakkara Samyutta, which is about gains and fame, offerings and fame for a monk is extremely dangerous. So here, because of fame, Devadatta destroyed himself. 6.13. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Magadhans at Anda Kavinda. On that occasion, the Blessed One was sitting out in the open, in the thick darkness of the night while it was drizzling. Then when the night had advanced, Brahma Sahampati approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him and stood to one side. Standing to one side, he recited these verses in the presence of the Blessed One. One should resort to remote lodgings, practice for release from the fetters. But if one does not find delight there, guarded and mindful, dwell in the Sangha, walking for alms from family to family, faculties guarded, discreet, mindful. One should resort to remote lodgings, free from fear, liberated in the fearless, where terrible serpents glide, where lightning flashes and the sky thunders. In the thick darkness of the night, there sits a monk devoid of terror. For this has actually been seen by me. It is not merely hearsay. Within a single holy life, 1,000 have left death behind. There are 500 more trainees, and 10 times a tenfold 10. All have entered the stream, never returning to the animal realm. As for the other people who remain, who to my mind or partake of merit, I cannot even number them from dread of speaking falsely. That's the end of the sutta. So here, this Brahma Sahampati praises a monk who dwells in remote haunts. And this part where he talks about this first part about remote haunts, the translation in the Pali Text Society is also very beautiful. I read for you. Seek ye the lonely haunts remote from men. Practice the life of liberty from bonds. If there ye come not by your heart's desire, dwell with the Sangha, mindful and controlled, seeking your alms among clansmen, house to house, prudent and heedful, guarded as to sense. Seek ye the lonely haunts remote from men, from fear released, in fearlessness set free, where dreadful serpents glide, and lightnings roam on high, and gods doth thunder in the night, the blinding blackness of the night. There sits the monk, rid, or the bhikkhu, rid of all flesh-creeping fear. So, devas, when they see monks practicing like that, living alone and having no fear, and they are also full of respect. This Brahma Sahampati could have been ascetic in a previous life. So he talks like that. Then the last part, he says, within a single holy life, people who have become a monk, 1,000 have left death behind them. 1,000 have become arahants. And many have entered the stream. And then those who do merit, that means those who are not Arya, they do merit, that means supporters of the Buddha. He says, cannot number them, that means they will go to heaven also. 6.14. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi. There, the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, bhikkhus or monks. Venerable Sir, those monks replied. The Blessed One said, monks, once in the past there was a king named Arunava, whose capital was Arunavati. The Blessed One, Sikhi, the Arahant Sammasambuddha, dwelt in dependence on the capital Arunavati. The chief pair of disciples of the Blessed One, Sikhi, were named Abhibu and Sambhava, an excellent pair. Then the Blessed One, Sikhi, addressed the monk Abhibu. Come, Brahmana, let us go to a certain Brahma world until it is time for our meal. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monk Abhibu replied. Then monks, as quickly as a strong man might extend his drawn-in arm, or draw in his extended arm, so the Blessed One, Sikhi, Arahant, Sammasambuddha, and the monk Abhibu disappeared from the capital, Arunavati, and reappeared in that Brahma world. Then the Blessed One, Sikhi, addressed the monk Abhibu thus, give a Dhamma talk, Brahmana, to Brahma and Brahma's retinue, and to Brahma's assembly. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monk Abhibu replied. Then by means of a Dhamma talk, he instructed, exhorted, inspired and gladdened Brahma and Brahma's retinue and Brahma's assembly. Thereupon Brahma and Brahma's retinue and Brahma's assembly found fault with this, grumbled and complained about it, saying, it is wonderful indeed, sir. It is amazing indeed, sir. How can a disciple teach the Dhamma in the very presence of the teacher? Then monks, the Blessed One Sikhi addressed the monk Abhibu thus, Brahmana, Brahma and Brahma's retinue and Brahma's assembly deplore this, saying, it is wonderful. It is indeed, sir. It is amazing indeed, sir. How can a disciple teach the Dhamma in the very presence of the teacher? Well then, Brahmana, stir up an even greater sense of urgency in Brahma and in Brahma's retinue and in Brahma's assembly. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monk Abhibu replied. Then he taught the Dhamma with his body visible, and with his body invisible, and with the lower half of his body visible, and the upper half invisible, and with the upper half of his body visible, and the lower half invisible. Thereupon monks, Brahma and Brahma's retinue, and Brahma's assembly were struck with wonder and amazement, saying, it is wonderful indeed, sir. It is amazing indeed, sir. How the ascetic has such great power and might. Then monks, the monk Abhibu said to the Blessed One Sikhi, Arahant Sammasambuddha, I recall, Venerable Sir, having made such a statement as this in the midst of the Bhikkhu Sangha. Friends, while standing in the Brahma world, I can make my voice heard throughout the 1,000-fold world system. And the Buddha said, and the Buddha Sikhi said, now is the time for that, Brahmana. Now is the time for that, Brahmana. While standing in the Brahma world, you should make your voice heard throughout the 1,000-fold world system. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monk Abhibu replied. Then while standing in the Brahma world, you recited these verses. Arouse your energy, strive on, exert yourself in the Buddha's teaching, sweep away the army of death, as an elephant does a hut of reeds. One who dwells diligently in this Dhamma Vinaya, having abandoned the wandering on in birth, will make an end to suffering. Then monks, having stirred up a sense of urgency in Brahma and in Brahma's retinue and in Brahma's assembly, just as quickly as a strong man might extend his drawn-in arm, or drawing his extended arm, the Blessed One Sikhi, Arahant, Samyutta, and the monk Abhibu disappeared from that Brahma world and reappeared in the capital Arunavati. Then the Blessed One Sikhi addressed the monks thus, "Monks, did you hear the verses that the monk Abhibu recited while he was standing in the Brahma world?" "We did, Venerable Sir." "What were the verses that you heard, monks?" "We heard the verses of the monk Abhibu thus: Arouse your energy, strive on, exert yourself in the Buddha's teaching, sweep away the army of death as an elephant does a hut of reeds. One who dwells diligently in this Dhamma Vinaya, having abandoned the wandering on in birth, will make an end to suffering." Such were the verses that we heard the monk Abhibu recite while he was standing in the Brahma world. Good monks, it is good that you heard the verses that the monk Abhibu recited while he was standing in the Brahma world. This is what the Blessed One said. Elated, those monks delighted in the Blessed One's statement. That's the end of the sutta. So, you see this pair, the Buddha, Sikhi and his disciple, it was too early to have their meal, so he thought, still got a lot of spare time. So both of them flew to the Brahma world. And monk Abhibu was asked to give a Dhamma talk. So when he gave a Dhamma talk, the Brahma Devas were unhappy. They thought, how can the teacher is around, how can the disciple teach the Dhamma? Then the Buddha asked him to show them something. Then he made himself sometimes visible, sometimes invisible, and sometimes half of the body visible. So they were amazed how his psychic power is so great. You see, for him to make them see this, that means his psychic power is much greater than them. He can, in a way, control their mind so that they see what he wants them to see. So they were very impressed. Then the monk Abhibu said, but this is nothing. I remember I have mentioned to the Sangha that standing in the Brahma world, my voice, just speaking normally, can be made audible to the thousand-fold world system. And then Buddha asked him to do that. So he just talked normally, and 1,000 world systems could hear his voice so clearly. So this shows how powerful the Arahants are. 6.15. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Kusinara in Upavattana, the sal tree grove of the Malans, between the twin sal trees, on the occasion of his final Nibbana. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks thus: "Now I address you, monks. Formations are bound to vanish. Strive to attain the goal by diligence." This was the last utterance of the Tathagata. Then the Blessed One attained the first jhana. Having emerged from the first jhana, he attained the second jhana. Having emerged from the second jhana, he attained the third jhana. Having emerged from the third jhana, he attained the fourth jhana. Having emerged from the fourth jhana, he attained the base of the infinity of space. Having emerged from the base of the infinity of space, he attained the base of the infinity of consciousness. Having emerged from the base of the infinity of consciousness, he attained the base of nothingness. Having emerged from the base of nothingness, he attained the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Having emerged from the base of neither perception nor non-perception, he attained the cessation of perception and feeling. Having emerged from the cessation of perception and feeling, he attained the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Having emerged from the base of neither perception nor non-perception, he attained the base of nothingness. Having emerged from the base of nothingness, he attained the base of the infinity of consciousness. Having emerged from the base of the infinity of consciousness, he attained the base of the infinity of space. Having emerged from the base of the infinity of space, he attained the fourth jhana. Having emerged from the fourth jhana, he attained the third jhana. Having emerged from the third jhana, he attained the second jhana. Having emerged from the second jhana, he attained the first jhana. Having emerged from the first jhana, he attained the second jhana. Having emerged from the second jhana, he attained the third jhana. Having emerged from the third jhana, he attained the fourth jhana. Having emerged from the fourth jhana, Immediately after this, the Blessed One attained final Nibbana. Now stop here for a moment. So here you see, the Buddha, to attain Nibbana, he went through one by one all the jhanas, up to the 8th jhana, then cessation of perception of consciousness, and then down all the 8 jhanas to number 1, and then after that, number 1 up to number 4. And from number 4, as soon as he came out of number 4, immediately entered Nibbana. And the Blessed One attained final Nibbana. Simultaneously with his final Nibbana, Brahma Sahampati recited this verse. All beings in the world will finally lay the body down. Since such a one as the teacher, the peerless person in the world, the Tathagata endowed with the powers, the Buddha, has attained final Nibbana. And the Blessed One attained final Nibbana. Simultaneously with his final Nibbana, Sakadeva Raja, Lord of the Devas, recited this verse. Impermanent indeed are formations. Their nature is to arise and vanish. Having arisen, they cease. Their appeasement is blissful. These 4 verses, normally we chant Anicca Vata Samsara Upada Vaya Dhammino Upaditava Nirujanti Te Sangupa Samo Sukho Vistavan. And the Blessed One attained final Nibbana. Simultaneously with his final Nibbana, the Venerable Ananda recited this verse. Then there was terror, then there was trepidation, when the One perfect in all excellent qualities, the Buddha, attained final Nibbana. And the Blessed One attained final Nibbana. Simultaneously with his final Nibbana, the Venerable Anuruddha recited these verses. There was no more in and out breathing. In the stable one of steady mind, when unstirred, bent on peace, the one with vision attained final Nibbana. With unshrinking mind, he endured the pain, that the quenching of a lamp was the deliverance of the mind. So this is how the Buddha entered Nibbana. Now we come to the 7th Samyutta, Brahmana Samyutta. Discourses concerning the Brahmins. Here, this Brahmana does not refer to the holy man, but refers to the clan of Brahmins, priest clan. Originally they were priests, now no more. The first Sutta 7.1. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. On that occasion, the wife of a certain Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan, a Brahmin lady named Dhananjani, had full confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Once, while the Brahmin lady Dhananjani was bringing the Brahmin his meal, she stumbled, whereupon she uttered 3 times this inspired utterance. Homage to the Blessed One, the Arahant, perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one. This one in Pali would be Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. This can be said to be one of the mantras we can use to a meditation object we can use to keep our mind from wandering. Whenever you are not doing anything, you just chant Namo Tassa. At the same time, you are like praising the Buddha. At the same time, you are keeping your mind from running away. And this was said, the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan said to her, for the slightest thing, this wretched woman spouts out praise of that shaveling ascetic. Now, wretched woman, I am going to refute the doctrine of that teacher of yours. And she said, I do not see anyone Brahmin in this world with its Devas, Mara and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its Devas and humans, who could refute the doctrine of the Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha. But go, Brahmin, when you have gone, you will understand. Then the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan, angry and displeased, approached the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. I stop here for a moment. It seems this Brahmin, because he was not a follower of the Buddha, and sometimes his friends come to his house, they are also Brahmins, but his wife was a follower of the Buddha, and since his wife was always saying Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa, he felt a bit embarrassed because his Brahmin friends also did not like the Buddha properly, just like him. So that's why when the wife stumbled and said Namo Tassa again, he got angry. So he said he wanted to go and argue with the Buddha, and prove the Buddha wrong. When they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, he sat down to one side and addressed the Blessed One in verse. Having slain what, does one sleep soundly? Having slain what, does one not sorrow? What is the one thing, O Gautama, whose killing you approve? And the Buddha said, having slain anger, one sleeps soundly. Having slain anger, one does not sorrow. The killing of anger, O Brahmin, with its poisoned root and honey tip, this is the killing the noble ones praise. For having slain that, one does not sorrow. When this was said, the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent Master Gautama, the Dhamma has been made clear in many ways by Master Gautama, as though he were turning upright what had been turned upside down, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go for refuge to Master Gautama, and to the Dhamma and to the Bhikkhu Sangha. May I receive the going forth under the Master Gautama. May I receive the higher ordination. I'll stop here for a moment. Here it is quite surprising because this guy, he had a lot of anger towards the Buddha. So he came to ask the Buddha. It was like a kind of riddle. He thought the Buddha would not be able to answer. What should you sleep? What should you slay? So when the Buddha says we should slay anger, then on the one hand, when he came, he had a lot of anger. So when the Buddha mentioned kill anger, he thought probably that the Buddha could read his mind. So he was so impressed by the Buddha, and he not only took refuge with the Buddha, he even wanted to go forth as a monk under the Buddha. One thing about Indians, religion is very much a part of the culture, unlike us Chinese. Chinese business is very important, but Indian, they value religion a lot. That's why when they see monks, they are full of respect. Then the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan received the going forth under the Blessed One. He received a high ordination. And soon, not long after his high ordination, dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute, the Venerable Bharadvaja, by realizing it for himself with direct knowledge, in this very life entered and dwelt in that unsurpassed goal of the holy life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the household life into homelessness. He directly knew, destroyed his birth, the holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. And the Venerable Bharadvaja became one of the Arahants. It's the end of the sutta. So you see, generally, for the Buddha's disciples to become an Arahant, this is the standard phrase that is soon, not long after his high ordination, dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute. So that's why the Buddha praised dwelling alone, because when a person dwells alone, he has to, in a way, he has to cultivate diligently, because in the deep forest, sometimes there are a lot of spirits around. If the monk is lazy, the spirits will come and disturb him. So he has nothing else to do, nobody to talk to. So he has all the time undistracted attention to meditate. 7.2. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. The Brahmin, Akosakha Bharadvaja the abusive, heard. It is said that the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan had gone forth from the household life into homelessness under the ascetic Gautama. Angry and displeased, he approached the Blessed One and abused and reviled him with rude, harsh words. Stop here for a moment. You see, these Brahmins, they have their own religion, so they don't like the Buddha. And when they heard that one of their fellow Brahmins had gone forth, this fellow was very angry. The Buddha converted one of these Brahmins, so their Brahmin clan has become smaller, less people. When he had finished speaking, the Blessed One said to him, "What do you think, Brahmin? Do your friends and colleagues, kinsmen and relatives, as well as guests come to visit you? Sometimes they come to visit Master Gotama. Then, do you then offer them some food or a meal or a snack?" "Sometimes I do, Master Gotama." "But if they do not accept it from you, then to whom does the food belong?" "If they do not accept it from me, then the food still belongs to us." And the Buddha said, "So too, Brahmin, we who do not abuse anyone, who do not scold anyone, who do not rail against anyone, refuse to accept from you the abuse, the scolding and tirade you let loose at us. It still belongs to you, Brahmin. It still belongs to you, Brahmin. Brahmin, one who abuses his own abuser, who scolds the one who scolds, who rails against the one who rails at him, he is said to partake of the meal, to enter upon an exchange. But we do not partake of your meal, we do not enter upon an exchange. It still belongs to you, Brahmin. It still belongs to you, Brahmin." So the Buddha says, "You've given me all that anger, I don't accept it, you take it back, it belongs to you." And he said, "The king and his retinue understand the ascetic Gotama to be an arahant, yet the master Gotama still gets angry." And the Buddha said, "How can anger arise in one who is angerless, in the tame one of righteous living, in one liberated by perfect knowledge, in the stable one who abides in peace? One who repays an angry man with anger, thereby makes things worse for himself. Not repaying an angry man with anger, one wins a battle hard to win. He practices for the welfare of both his own and the others. When knowing that his foe is angry, he mindfully maintains his peace. That he achieves the cure of both his own and the others. The people who consider him a fool are unskilled in the Dhamma." And this was said, the Brahmin Akko Sakha Bharadvaja said to the Blessed One, "Magnificent Master Gotama, magnificent Master Gotama," in the same way. The Dhamma has been made clear in many ways by Master Gotama, as though he were turning upright what had been turned upside down, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go for refuge to Master Gotama, to the Dhamma and to the Bhikkhu Sangha. May I receive the going forth under Master Gotama. May I receive the higher ordination. Then the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan received the going forth under the Blessed One. He received the higher ordination, and soon, not long after his higher ordination, dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute, the Venerable Bharadvaja became one of the Arahants. So this is another sutta which shows how this Brahmin so fast, after arguing with the Buddha, he can just become a monk. It's interesting how the Buddha refuted his anger. He was so impressed that he became a monk. 7.3. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. The Brahmin Asurindaka Bharadvaja heard. It is said that the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan has gone forth from the household life into homelessness under the ascetic Gotama. Angry and displeased, he approached the Blessed One and abused and reviled him with rude, harsh words. When he had finished speaking, the Blessed One remained silent. Then the Brahmin Asurindaka Bharadvaja said to the Blessed One, "You are beaten, ascetic, you are beaten, ascetic. You have lost." Then the Blessed One said, "The fool thinks victory is won when by speech he bellows harshly. But for one who understands, patient endurance is the true victory. One who repays an angry man with anger, thereby makes things worse for himself. Not repaying an angry man with anger, one wins a battle hard to win. He practices for the welfare of both his own and the others. When knowing that his foe is angry, he mindfully maintains his peace. When he achieves the cure of both his own and the others, the people who consider him a fool are unskilled in the Dhamma. And this was said, the Brahmin Asurindaka Bharadvaja said to the Blessed One, magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent. In the same way, he took refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha and also asked to go forth. And a few years later, he also attained Arahanthood. So, it's quite impressive how these Brahmins, once they see the light, see the truth, they can go forth. 7.8. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. On that occasion, milk rice with ghee had been set out for the Brahmin Agika Bharadvaja, who had thought, I will offer a fire sacrifice, I will perform the fire oblation. Oblation is offering. Then in the morning, the Blessed One dressed and taking bowl and robe, entered Rajagaha for alms. Walking for alms on uninterrupted alms round in Rajagaha, the Blessed One approached the residence of the Brahmin Agika Bharadvaja and stood to one side. The Brahmin Agika Bharadvaja saw the Blessed One standing for alms and addressed him in verse. One endowed with the triple knowledge of proper birth, of ample learning, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, might partake of this meal. I'll stop here for a moment. So the Buddha came to his house to beg for food. But when he saw the Buddha, he said, one with triple knowledge, te vijja, these Brahmins, they consider themselves to have the triple knowledge of proper birth, that means Brahmin birth, of ample learning, is in the Vedas, the Brahmin books. And say such a person maybe can take this meal. And the Buddha said, even though one mutters many chants, one does not become a Brahmana by birth. If one is rotten within and defiled, with followers gained by fraudulent means, one who has known, I stop here for a moment. The Buddha is saying, because the Brahmins, they do a lot of chanting, they have a lot of mantras, secret mantras. So the Buddha said, not by chance, by chanting, does one become a Brahmana. Brahmana here, although it is also used for the Brahmin clan, but originally Brahmana means a holy man. So the Buddha is saying, you are not a holy man just because you chant many chants. Maybe you are rotten within. And the Buddha continued, one who has known his past abodes, who sees heaven and the plains of woe, who has reached the destruction of birth, a sage consummate in direct knowledge. By means of these three kinds of knowledge, one is a triple knowledge Brahmana. This one, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, might partake of this rice meal. So the Buddha is saying, if one knows his past lives, I can see heaven and the woeful plains. This the Buddha calls and reach the destruction of the round of rebirths. And then the Buddha calls this the triple knowledge. The Buddha said, such a person is worthy of the meal. Then the Brahmin Agika Bharadvaja said, let Master Gautama eat. Worthy is a Brahmana. Or is a Brahmin, he says. The Master Gautama is also like us, a Brahmin. And the Buddha said, food over which verses have been sung is not fit to be eaten by me. This Brahmin is not the principle observed by those who see. The enlightened ones reject such food over which verses have been sung. As such a principle exists, O Brahmin, this is their rule of conduct. Serve with other food and drink, the consummate one, the great seer, with asavas or taints destroyed, and remorse still, for it is the field for one seeking merit. When this was said, the Brahmin Agika Bharadvaja said to the Blessed One, magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent. In the same way, he also took refuge and asked to go forth. and later he also became an Arahant. So you see, it's interesting here, the Buddha says, Buddhas don't chant verses for their meal. It's not like the Brahmins nowadays, some monks, they do chanting to kind of to get their food or to earn a livelihood like that. The Buddha says, real monks don't do that. 7.9. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Kosalans on the bank of the river Sundarika. Now on that occasion, the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja was offering a fire sacrifice and performing the fire oblation on the bank of the river Sundarika. Then the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja, having offered the fire sacrifice and performed the fire oblation, rose from his seat and surveyed the four quarters all around, wondering, who now might eat this sacrificial cake? Stop here for a moment. So here, after praying and offering all that food, he's thinking, who can he give the food to? It's in a way like our Chinese also, we pray to the gods, and after that, either the Chinese, they eat the food themselves or they give it to others. And the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja saw the Blessed One sitting at the foot of a tree with his head covered. Having seen him, he took the sacrificial cake in his left hand and the water pot in his right hand and approached the Blessed One. And the Blessed One heard the sound of the Brahmin's footsteps. He uncovered his head. Then the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja, thinking, this worthy is shaven-headed, this worthy is a shaveling, wanted to turn back. But it occurred to him, some Brahmins here are also shaven-headed. Let me approach him and inquire about his birth. Let's stop here for a moment. Some of you may have seen this, the Hare Krishna monks. They have a little, they are bald except for a little hair, tuft of hair at the back. So I think Brahmins are like that. So this guy, he wanted to offer his food to a Brahmin, but when he saw the Buddha, clean-shaven, he didn't want to give, he wanted to go away. Then suddenly he thought, maybe some Brahmins also are like that. Then the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja approached the Blessed One and said to him, what is the worthy one's birth? What clan do you belong to? And the Buddha said, ask not of birth, but ask of conduct. Fire is indeed produced by any wood. A resolute sage, though from low family, is a thoroughbred restrained by a sense of shame. The sacrificer should invoke this one tamed by truth, perfect by taming, who has reached the end of knowledge, a fulfiller of the holy life. Then he makes a timely oblation to one worthy of offerings. And the Brahmin said, surely my sacrifice is well performed, as I have seen such a knowledge master. Because I had not seen those like yourself, other people ate the sacrificial cake. Let Master Gautama eat, the worthy is a Brahmin. And again the Buddha said in a similar way, food over which verses have been sung, he does not accept. Then the Brahmin said, then Master Gautama, should I give this sacrificial cake to someone else? And the Buddha said, I do not see anyone, Brahmin, in this world with its Devas, Mara and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its Devas and humans, who could eat and properly digest this sacrificial cake, except the Tathagata or a disciple of the Tathagata. Therefore, Brahmin, throw away the sacrificial cake in a place where there is sparse vegetation, or dispose of it in water where there are no living beings. I'll stop here for a moment. So the Buddha is saying, since this cake has been offered to the Buddha, nobody else is qualified to eat it except the Buddha and his disciples. So the Buddha asked him to throw it away in a place where there is little vegetation. Why? Because plants have berries inside them. So if you throw food over plants, you dirty the plants and these fairies are not happy. And also if you throw it in water where there's living beings, and if the food is oily, the living beings may die. So that's why the Buddha said this. Then the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja disposed of that sacrificial cake in water where there were no living beings. When it was disposed of in the water, that sacrificial cake sizzled and hissed and gave off steam and smoke, just as a plowshare, heated all day, sizzles and hisses and gives off steam and smoke if placed in water. So too that sacrificial cake, when disposed of in the water, sizzled and hissed and gave off steam and smoke. Then the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja, shocked and terrified, approached the Blessed One and stood to one side. The Blessed One then addressed him with verses. When kindling wood, Brahmin, do not imagine this external deed brings purity. For experts say, no purity is gained by one who seeks it outwardly. Having given up the fire made from wood, I kindle, O Brahmin, the inner light alone, always ablaze, my mind always concentrated. I am an Arahant living the holy life. Conceit, O Brahmin, is your shoulder load, anger the smoke, false speech the ashes. The tongue is the ladle, the heart the altar. A well-tamed self is the light of a man. The Dhamma is a lake with falls of virtue, limpid, praised by the good to the good, where the knowledge masters go to bathe, and dry limb cross to the far shore. Truth, Dhamma, restraint, the holy life, attainment of Brahma based on the middle path. Pay homage, O Brahmin, to the upright ones. I call that person one impelled by Dhamma. That's how it says here, based on the middle. I just added the middle path. So when this was said, the Brahmin Sundarika Bharadvaja said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gautama, Magnificent Master Gautama. So in the same way, he took refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha and asked to go forth. And later, he became an Arahant also. So here you see I don't know whether the Buddha used his psychic power or what, because when he threw the cake into the water, it was as though a hot metal piece had been dropped into water, mist and all that. It frightened him. So then he believed that the Buddha was actually a holy man. So he asked to go forth. The next sutta is quite interesting, 7.10. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Kosalans in a certain woodland thicket. Now on that occasion, 14 oxen belonging to a certain Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan had gotten lost. Then the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan, while searching for those oxen, went to the woodland thicket where the Blessed One was staying. There he saw the Blessed One sitting with his legs folded crosswise, holding his body erect, having set up mindfulness in front of him. Having seen him, he approached the Blessed One and recited these verses in the presence of the Blessed One. Surely this ascetic does not have 14 oxen that have gotten lost, not seen now for the past 6 days. Hence this ascetic is happy. Surely this ascetic does not have a field of blighted sesamum plants, some with 1 leaf, some with 2. Hence this ascetic is happy. Surely this ascetic does not have rats inside an empty barn, dancing around merrily. Hence this ascetic is happy. Surely this ascetic does not have a blanket that for 7 months has been covered with swarms of vermin. Hence this ascetic is happy. Surely this ascetic does not have 7 daughters left for widows, some with 1 son, some with 2. Hence this ascetic is happy. Surely this ascetic does not have a thorny wife with pock-marked face who wakes him up with a kick. Hence this ascetic is happy. Surely this ascetic does not have creditors who call at dawn, chiding him, pay up, pay up. Hence this ascetic is happy. So when the Buddha heard him speak this so, the Buddha replied, Surely Brahmin, I do not have 14 oxen that have gotten lost, not seen now for the past 6 days. Hence Brahmin, I am happy. Surely Brahmin, I do not have a field of blighted sesamum plants, some with 1 leaf, some with 2. Hence, O Brahmin, I am happy. Surely Brahmin, I do not have rats inside an empty barn, dancing around merrily. Hence, O Brahmin, I am happy. Surely, Brahmin, I do not have a blanket that for 7 months has been covered with swarms of vermin. Hence, O Brahmin, I am happy. Surely, Brahmin, I do not have 7 daughters left for widows, some with 1 son, some with 2. Hence, O Brahmin, I am happy. Surely, Brahmin, I do not have a thorny wife with pock-marked face, who wakes me up with a kick. Hence, O Brahmin, I am happy. Surely, Brahmin, I do not have creditors who call at dawn, chiding me, pay up, pay up. Hence, O Brahmin, I am happy. And this was said, the Brahmin of the Bharadvaja clan said to the Blessed One, magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent. And he took refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha and asked to go forth. And later he also became an Arahant. So these verses here are quite amusing. He says, because the Buddha surely is not like him now, all the 14 cattle, this oxen toss, and then he planted these sesamum plants, and probably not enough water or what, they didn't sprout properly, some only have 1 leaf, some 2 leaves, and then his barn or his store is empty except for rats. Then his blanket, 7 months, is covered with vermin. Maybe 7 months he not able to use it or what. And then he has 7 daughters whose husbands have died, so they all come back to him. He has to look after them. So because of that, he's every morning the creditors, the along will come to him asking him to pay up. So he got so much problems on his hands. So when he compared himself with the Buddha, I said, Buddha is so happy compared to him. So he decided to go forth and became an Arahant with 7.11. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Magadhans at Dakina Giri, near the Brahmin village of Ekanala. Now on that occasion, the Brahmin Kasi Bharadvaja the ploughman, had 500 ploughs fastened to their yokes at the time of sowing. Then in the morning, the Blessed One dressed, and taking bowl and robe, went to the place where the Brahmin Kasi Bharadvaja was at work. On that occasion, the Brahmin Kasi Bharadvaja's food distribution was taking place. Then the Blessed One approached the place of the food distribution and stood to one side. The Brahmin Kasi Bharadvaja saw the Blessed One standing for alms and said to him, Recluse, I plough and sow, and when I have ploughed and sown, I eat. You too, ascetic, ought to plough and sow. Then when you have ploughed and sown, you will eat. I stop here for a moment. So this Brahmin must have been a rich man. He got 500 ploughs all ready to work, to sow seeds and all that. So all his workers must have been standing ready to work. So it was food time. So the Buddha came to ask for alms. Then he thought the Buddha, like a lot of people think monks are lazy people, only beg for their food and then go and sleep. So he told the Buddha, we have to work for our food. You also ought to work for your food. And the Buddha said, I too, Brahmin, plough and sow. And when I have ploughed and sown, I eat. And he said, but we do not see Master Gautama's yoke or plowshare or goat or oxen. Yet Master Gautama says, I too, Brahmin, plough and sow. And when I have ploughed and sown, I eat. Then the Brahmin Kasi Bharadvaja addressed the Blessed One in verse, You claim to be a man who works the plough. I do not see your ploughing. If you are a ploughman, answer me, how should we understand your ploughing? And the Buddha said, Faith is the seed, austerity the rain, wisdom my yoke and plough, shame the pole, mine the yoke tie, mindfulness my plowshare and goad, guarded in body, guarded in speech, control in my appetite for food. I use truth as my weeding hook and gentleness as my unyoking. Energy is my beast of burden, carrying me to security from bondage. It goes ahead without stopping, to where, having gone, one does not sorrow. In such a way this ploughing is done, which has the deathless as its fruit. Having finished this work of ploughing, one is released from all suffering. And he said, let Master Gautama eat. The worthy is a ploughman. Since Master Gautama does ploughing, that has even the deathless as its food. And the Buddha said, food over which verses have been sung is not fit to be eaten by the Buddha and all that. And this was said, the Brahmin Kasi Bhararaja said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, Magnificent Master Gotama. The Dhamma has been made clear in many ways by Master Gotama, as though he were turning upright what had been turned upside down, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go for refuge to Master Gotama and to the Dhamma and to Bhikkhu Sangha. Let Master Gotama remember me as a lay follower, who from today has gone for refuge for life. So in the end, he realized that the Buddha also works in a different way. He works to attain the deathless. He was impressed, so he became a follower of the Buddha. But you see here, he didn't ask to go forth and become a monk, probably because he was a very rich man. 7.12 at Savatthi. Then in the morning, the Blessed One dressed and taking bowl and robe, approached the residence of the Brahmin Udaya. Then the Brahmin Udaya filled the Blessed One's bowl with rice. The second time in the morning, that means the next day, the Blessed One dressed and taking bowl and robe approached the residence of the Brahmin Udaya. And the third time in the morning, that means on the third day, also the Buddha, the Blessed One dressed and taking bowl and robe approached the residence of the Brahmin Udaya. Then for the third time the Brahmin Udaya filled the Blessed One's bowl with rice, after which he said to the Blessed One, this pesky ascetic Gotama keeps coming again and again. Stop here for a moment. You notice here among the suttas that many of these Brahmins, they know who the Buddha is, They mention Master Gotama or Samana Gotama. But this guy, this last one, the Buddha came consecutively, day after day for 3 days, and he was getting annoyed already. He said, this ascetic keeps coming again and again. And the Buddha said, again and again they sow the seed. Again and again the sky god sends down rain. Again and again the plowmen plow the field. Again and again grain comes to the realm. Again and again the mendicants beg, the monks. Again and again the donors give. When donors have given again and again they go to heaven. Again and again the dairy folk draw milk. Again and again the calf goes to its mother. Again and again one wearies and trembles. Again and again the doe enters the womb, or the fool enters the womb. Again and again one is born and dies. Again and again they take one to the cemetery. But when one has obtained the path that leads to no more renewed existence, having become broad in wisdom, one is not born again and again. And this was said, the Brahmin Udaya said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, Magnificent Master Gotama. Then he took the 3 refuges and asked to be a lay follower for the rest of his life. Here the verses sound very nice. The Buddha is saying, life is like that, everything repeats again and again. So if a person does charity and again, so he goes to heaven again and again. 7.13. Now on that occasion the Blessed One was afflicted by winds, and the Venerable Upavana was his attendant. Then the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Upavana thus, Come now, Upavana, find some hot water for me. Let's stop here for a moment. You see here, it's mentioned that Venerable Upavana was the attendant of the Buddha. In our Buddhist tradition, a senior monk will have a junior monk who attends to him, who serves him. And in his later years, the Buddha chose Ananda to be his attendant, because the Buddha taught for how long? 45 years. So the first half, the first about 20 years, the Buddha kept changing attendants. Only about the last 25 years, Venerable Ananda served the Buddha. And Venerable Ananda was not young, Venerable Ananda, if I am not mistaken, at the same age as the Buddha. Then, so here in this sutta, the Buddha was afflicted with winds, So why is this? Because the Buddha and his monks, they beg for their food. Sometimes they get poor food, or sometimes they don't get enough to eat. So like the other day we read, there's even a case where the Buddha did not get any food for the whole morning. He begged. So because of that, sometimes he has this gastric problem, flatulence, twin. So he asked this attendant, Venerable Upavana, to find some hot water. Yes, Venerable Sir, the Venerable Upavana replied. Then he dressed, and taking bowl and robe, went to the residence of the Brahmin Devahita, where he stood silently to one side. The Brahmin Devahita saw the Venerable Upavana standing silently to one side, and addressed him in verse. You notice when our Buddhist monks beg for anything, we don't open our mouth, we just keep quiet. Then normally people give food, or in this case it's evening, so probably evening. So the man probably knew that there was something wrong, I wanted something. So the man asked, silent the worthy one stands, shaven-headed, clad in a stitched robe. What do you want? What do you seek? What have you come here to beg? And the Venerable Upavana said, the Arahant, the fortunate one in the world. This fortunate one, I think, is a translation for Sugata. The sage is afflicted with winds. If there is any hot water, Brahmin, please give it for the sage. He is worshipped by those worthy of worship, honored by those worthy of honor, respected by those worthy of respect. It is to him that I wish to take it. So the monk is telling this man that he's asking for water, hot water for a holy man. Then the Brahmin Devahita ordered a man to bring a carrying pole with hot water and presented a bag of molasses to the Venerable Upavana. Molasses is this sugar. Then the Venerable Upavana approached the Blessed One. He had the Blessed One bathed with the hot water, and he mixed the molasses with hot water and offered it to him. Then the Blessed One's ailment subsided. Then the Brahmin Devahita approached the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him, after which he sat down to one side and addressed the Blessed One in verse. Where should one give a proper gift? Where does a gift bear great fruit? How, for one bestowing alms, does an offering bring success? Just how? So he's asking the Buddha, if a person wants to do charity, how to get a lot of merit. And the Buddha said, one who has known his past abodes, his past lives, who sees heaven and the plains of war, who has reached the destruction of birth, a sage consummate in direct knowledge. Here one should give a proper gift. Here a gift bears great fruit. That's how, for one bestowing alms, an offering brings success. Just so. When this was said, the Brahmin Devahita said to the Blessed One, magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent. Then in the same way, he took refuge and asked to be a lay follower of the Buddha. So I think I will stop here for tonight. The suttas have been quite interesting. Any questions? Anything to discuss? Yeah. The farmer with the pock-marked face wife, is it? Yeah. You see, a lot of these Nikaya rules were established after problems arose. So, in the initial stages, there were no precepts. And then slowly the Buddha made all these rules as he went along. And that's one thing. So it could be that this was a time when the rules were not there yet. Secondly, although these rules the Buddha made for the monks, but sometimes he, being the teacher, does not have to abide by the rules. So there are exceptions, especially like for the Buddha, he has the psychic ability to see who is worthy of going forth, who is not worthy of going forth. Also, maybe because the Buddha has so much lay supporters, if necessary, he could probably ask some rich supporter to help pay off this man's debt and so on. Actually, the Buddha says that he has been to all the realms of existence, has been born in all the realms of existence, except in the Suddhavasa heavens, because the Suddhavasa heavens, only Anagamins can be reborn there. And if you are born as an Anagamin, you will never go to any more rebirth. I mean, you only enter Nibbana from there. So that also shows that all of us, if we have come to the level of a human being, that means we have taken rebirth umpteen number of times. So we have also probably become monks many lifetimes already. That is for everybody. Because the round of rebirth is so long. Buddha says the tears that we have shed in the round of rebirth is more than the 4 oceans, here referring to the 4 oceans in heaven. And the blood that we have spilled in the round of samsara is also more than the waters of the 4 oceans in the heaven. So, in other words, we have been in samsara for so long. That's why now we are mature to the extent that we are interested in the Dhamma. Any person is interested in the Dhamma, the truth, that means that person is spiritually very mature already. That means you probably also have been ascetic and all that in the past life. Not necessarily Brahmins. You see, those people whom the Buddha accepted as disciples, firstly they have the Buddha as their teacher. And they were surrounded by Arahant monks. Right? There were a lot of Arahants during those days. So, if you are surrounded by this company of holy men, you'll be ashamed if you are lazy. Because they can read your mind. Every night if you go up and sleep early, they know. If after your meal you go and sleep in the afternoon also, they know how to be lazy. Like the Venerable Mahamoggallana, he was an external sect ascetic before he became the Buddha's disciple. And after he became the Buddha's disciple, the Buddha taught him the Dhamma and taught him how to meditate. So he was practicing very hard. Every night he was trying not to sleep, practicing, because that's the way the Buddha taught his disciples to maintain sati 24 hours a day. Mindfulness. So after a few nights of not sleeping, he was nodding his head already at night. Nodding his head. And then the Buddha came to him. As usually is mentioned, the Buddha, from the top of the head, a golden body will come out, exactly like the flesh body, but golden in color. So the Buddha went to him and told him, Moggallana, don't be, half asleep there, drowsing. Use more energy. Then after the Buddha advised him, the Buddha went off. So how do you think he'll react? The Buddha can see me, the Buddha can hear me, and think how to be lazy. So he put more effort, Within 7 days became an Arahant. One of the fastest. Sariputta 14 days. Mahakassapa 8 days. So you see, because you have such a teacher, you dare not be lazy. And if you are diligent and you are practicing the right path, the Buddha says it doesn't take so long to come like that. Especially before you come for the meditation, you got to be sure you're not too tired. If you are too tired, then however much energy you put also, you won't be have a good meditation. And try to sleep the minimum that you require, because if you oversleep, then the mind runs. So the asavasa, mental, uncontrolled mental outflows flow so strongly that when you sit in meditation, it's very hard to discipline the mind. So like the Buddha tells his disciples not to rest more than 4 hours. If you want, you can try. If you normally sleep, say 7 hours, you try sleep 6 hours. Then that 1 hour, instead of sleeping, if you feel very tired, then you lie down, but you try to keep awake that 1 hour. And if you can do it, then you reduce further. You try 5.5 hours of actual sleep. You put the alarm clock. After you get up, if you can do walking meditation, you do. If you are tired, you lie down, but you try to fight sleep. Try to do some chanting, Namo Tassa or something, just to keep awake. You see, actually, scientific research has shown that the mind actually needs 2.5 hours of sleep a night. But the mind is enough. Only thing is the body is a bit exhausted. If the body is exhausted, if we lie down, it helps a lot. If we lie down, we are not. The body can relax. If we don't lie down, the heart has got to pump up and down, pump up and down. Even you sit also, the heart has got to do quite a lot of work, pumping the blood. But when you lie down, then the heart is relaxed. It doesn't have to pump up and down. Pump sideways, horizontally is much less work. And so all our limbs also, because we are resting, is on the bed or anything, and then we feel very relaxed. So the trick is to do with your minimum sleep and rest. So that's why for a meditator, physical work it's not compatible. If you do a lot of physical work, or if you you make yourself physically exhausted, then it's very difficult to cultivate the mind. Like the light work that you all do here is quite suitable. You sweep the floor and all that. You don't feel exhausted. So the trick is when you are tired to lie down, but try not to fall asleep. Once you fall asleep, the mind runs. And then to catch it back is very difficult. You have to experiment, do see what is suitable for you. Now what I do is that I do the chant of the 32 parts of the body. Head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh. And then I purposely have a clock in my kuti, which is a bit on the louder side when it goes tick, tock, you can hear it. So I go head, hair, body, hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh. Then it's easier to not to fall asleep. Because you have to synchronize with that clock. Then it helps. If I just chant head, hair, body, hair, after a while also I fall asleep. Nothing to. The tricks of the trade. Dana and Sila are supporting factors. Not only that, there are other things like being friendly with other people, to get into arguments and quarrels with other people. If you are pleasant with other people, people are also pleasant to you. If you try to make yourself useful to others, like for example in the monastery, you see whatever the monastery needs to be done, you make an effort to do, then because all these wholesome deeds give you happiness, you see, when you reflect on it, gives you happiness. And this happiness will support your meditation. Your mind can calm down easier. But some people, they are very petty, then they don't like this, they have a lot of wants and likes and dislikes and all that, and then the mind is not happy. When the mind is not happy, it cannot come down. You have to know how to make your mind. Actually, you want happiness, you got to give happiness to others. When you give happiness to others, then you get back happiness. Hmm? Hmm. Hmm. Always have to use our wisdom. Karma also. Some people's karma is such that nobody likes. Now, of course, we have to we have to use our wisdom. Like in the case of that old man, we don't throw him out. In some places, might throw him out. In fact, we even try to ask locally a few places, the old folks' home, but because his karma is no good, nobody wanted to help him.